In this final lesson, we're going to take a look at how blueprints work inside of Unreal Engine 4. Alright, so we've gone the entire way through blocking out a level, adding in static meshes, replacing the BSP geometry, creating materials, adding those to our geometry, even creating landscapes and foliage, as well as lighting. And now what we want to do is we want to kind of wrap things up by talking about adding interactivity to your level. And we're going to do that with Blueprint. Now Blueprint is a visual scripting interface. And so if you are a complete artist and you have no skills in scripting or programming, no fear, because Blueprints is going to help you out. Now Blueprint does require a little bit of knowledge, but it's very easy to kind of look through some of the different events and things like that. We just have to get an idea of how the nodes themselves work and what we can do with them and how they all fit together. So at first it's going to seem like it's like Kismet. So if you have come from UDK and you know Kismet, Blueprints might feel familiar, but it's not going to be exactly the same. In fact, I think Blueprint is going to be more powerful than Kismet, to be completely honest. So let's go ahead and talk about creating a trigger that is going to turn a light on and turn it off. This is a very simple exercise to get you introduced to Blueprint. So to get started, let's create a trigger. To do that, we'll go to our basic category under our place mode, and we're going to go ahead and drag in a box trigger. So left click and drag that in. You'll see that that places it right on our floor. We can go ahead and we can lift that up and put that right on the floor there. And I also want to change its size. So right here under your box extent, you want to go ahead and change this to 120 by 120 by 120, just to make it large enough that our player will hit it every time. I'm also going to put it out in front of our light so we can see exactly what's happening as soon as we touch this trigger. Let's also make sure that we have a player start in our scene. Now if you don't have one in your scene, it's very easy to create. All you have to do is simply go into Player Start under your Basic and drop that in. And then we'll just rotate it 90 degrees so it's facing the windows whenever the player starts. Perfect. Alright, so with that, let's go ahead and select our trigger. With that trigger selected, what we want to do is we want to right click on it, and it's going to bring up a menu. Now I know it goes off screen here. Let me go ahead and see if I can get a little bit lower so we can see this. So if I right click, you'll see this add event under our level blueprint events. And with this object, whenever we right click on it, we can choose some of the different events that are that pertain to this particular object. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to say on actor begin overlap. So basically whenever we touch this actor, we want to do something. So you'll see that it has created an event inside of our level blueprint. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just dock that up here on our tab bar. Now with this, what do we want to do? Well, we want to affect a light. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my level, and I'm going to go ahead and select that point light right there. And then I'm going to go back to my level blueprint. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to add a reference to my point light. So adding that in, it's going to give us this little blue capsule saying point light 7. Okay, so that is that object. Now what do I want to do with this? Well, I want to toggle it on and off. And the way that we do that is through our visibility. So select your light and look at your details. Remember, we turned it off with visibility, and that was done under the rendering portion here. So visible is turned off for right now. Let's go ahead and go back into our blueprint, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, and just like in our materials, this allows us to search through the different events and functions that are available to us. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in, let's type in rendering, and we should see a rendering category, and we see that there. Let's try something different. Let's try a different keyword. Let's try, well, here's lighting right here. Let's try visible. Okay, so let's type in visible, and we see is visible. That might be close to what we want. Set actor hidden in game, not exactly. Set actor hidden in game. Let's try, instead of visible, let's try visibility. And right here you see toggle visibility. Let's left click and drag on that. You'll notice that we had our object selected, and so what it did is it added our point light, the object that we had selected, to the target. So that's another way of adding those together very quickly. And you can move these around just by left clicking on them. Let's go ahead and remove that old one, and let's place our toggle visibility in here. So left click and drag on those nodes, and you can position those wherever you like. Now what we want to do is we want to say on actor begin overlap. Basically, whenever the player touches this trigger, we want it to toggle that light on or off. And so to hook this up, we want to basically tell it to execute. So right here is the execution output. We're going to left click and drag that into the execution input. You'll notice that we get this green check. That's letting us know that we can do that. Now if I hover over this blue input, it's saying nope, can't do that. This is an execution wire that you have. Can't do that. This is a execution wire. This is supposed to be a Boolean that goes in here. So this is the only one that we can plug that into. Okay, now notice the color coding on this. So we have objects that can be targets. Okay, notice the blue wire going to the blue input, and then we also have booleans that we can take care of. Left click and drag on that and you'll see that you get a red wire on that. Okay, now I'm going to right click because I don't want anything like that. Now what we can do is we can go ahead and actually just stop it right here. We can go into our level after we compile, of course, so left click on that. You'll get that green check letting you know that everything should be in order. Go back into your scene and then we'll simply just hit play. I'm going to go ahead and left click here and I'm going to say play. That should drop me right into my level. You'll want to left click and then you'll want to move forward and you should see that light turn on. Okay, perfect. Now if I move away from it, the light stays on, but if I hit it again, it's going to turn off. Now what if I want to create a system to where if I get into an area, that light turns on, but then whenever I move out, I want it to turn off? Well, we can do that very easily by using another event. Simply hold down Shift and F1 to turn off player control and go back into mouse control, and then what you'll want to do is stop the playing session there. Let's also select our trigger here. I want to turn off that actor hidden so that way I can see that in my scene. So now what we'll do is we'll go back to our blueprint and let's use a different event. Let's right click and let's add event for trigger box, and in this case we're going to do another collision event, and we use the on actor begin overlap. Instead, let's use the end overlap. So what that means is whenever we exit out of that trigger, it'll go ahead and do something else. Now what we can do is we can take this execution wire and we can plug that into the execution input. And so we now have both of those in there, and if we go in and we compile this and we play our game, we'll notice now if we left click, go to mouse control, that if we go in, it turns the light on. If we back up, it turns it off. Okay, and now really quickly, we should see some issues. Let's hold Shift and F1. The light that we're using is not the best light for this because it's in a dynamic scene and we have baked lighting all around. What we want to do is we want to select this light and notice that it's set to stationary. I'm going to left click on that and I'm actually going to change this to movable. And so what that means is it's going to be toggled on and off, and the engine is going to understand that. And so it really won't affect the baked lighting. Sometimes you might get a warning that actually says whenever that turns on that the lighting needs to be baked, and that would throw an error in your game, and you don't want that. So with that set to movable, okay, we can go in and we can turn that on and off. All right, so that's a quick look at blueprints. Turning a light on, turning it off. You might want to change some properties about that light. You might actually want to tone that down to around 1400. Take your light color, give it a little bit more of a fluorescent or an incandescent bulb there, so that way it's a little more yellow. Okay, and that'll give you the light that you desire there. So let's hit play one more time. Left click for mouse control. As soon as we hit that trigger, our light turns on. Okay, and if we move away from that, our light turns off. Okay. All right, great. So that's a quick look at blueprints, and we've wrapped up our intro course. Unreal Engine 4 is a very powerful tool. Okay, it's very, very powerful, and there are lots and lots of different interfaces that we can go in and take a look at. And in fact, we would have tons and tons of lessons to even go through if we touched every single interface. And so hopefully out of this course you have gotten the basics, how to create basic level layouts using the BSP geometry, how to add in static meshes, how to manipulate them, how to apply materials, even create materials, as well as landscapes and foliage, and also getting your lighting correct, and even getting a little bit into blueprints. So hopefully that gives you everything that you need to begin experimenting on your own in Unreal Engine 4. You know, I'm really excited about Unreal Engine, and I'm really excited to bring more tutorials your way. So I hope you guys had fun, and I'll see you guys next time.